Hello and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to the U.S. Civil War by Miss something like that. I don't know how you say it, Missy Studio? Yeah. So when I saw the thumbnail of his video, I was just immediately, interested because, the unique animation style. It's some. It's just the same feeling that I felt when I saw Oversimplify for the very first time. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Today we're diving into the biggest family feud in American history.
Yeah.
The Civil War. A drama filled with slavery, heroes, and battles.
Oh.
With Fort Sumter being the spark that lit the powder keg.
Yeah. Yeah. So to take um to tell you how the Civil War really began, people thought it was just for human rights, and it wasn't just that. It was also about politician, the economy, new land. I mean, there was so much factors that were going on to the U.S. And I think he will explain it more. But I just want to give you a good idea because when I was growing up, most of the my teachers would not like delve into more to the Civil War. They only will talk to you about like the timeline and not get into like the meat and potatoes on like how the Civil War became the Civil War, and which is I really like when I was in college. I really like that we got the time to discover more than just to take a look on point A to point B, which is awesome.
The South wanted to split. Lincoln said, "No way, Jose," and thus began 4 years of fighting that literally tore the country apart. But ultimately set it on a new path
What the
toward
fuck?
freedom and equality. This is the American Civil War in a nutshell.
Okay.
With norms, ideals, and a whole lot of chaos.
Yeah.
In 1861,
Okay. Blacks for sale. Oh, Jesus. Slightly less racist white folks. Um, in the industry people and dusty Indian cemetery. Okay, that's funny. I don't think this was this time that no, no, I don't think it was time because during their expansion on the U.S. between the North and the South, they were having a difficult time trying to balance the power with each other, and I feel like the balance never made it sense because they try to one up with each other. There's been several instances where one party trying to get more power and try to like say that the dominant force. I mean, good example would be the 36 by 30 line by the North, and in the South they were allowed to capture any escape enslavement. And yeah, it just they really were in like at each other's throat. In fact, one of the presidents, I think his name was what was his name? Jackson something. I think it was Jackson. Yeah, it was Jackson. Jackson said that the if we continue, moving the South and take the land from the Indians, then there will be less tension, which that didn't happen. So it just shows that politics is just nothing but mind games. I think today everyone knows that by now. But back in the day, wasn't that all they believe in their government? They believe in the belief on God's divine right, which is yeah something because they sometimes politics will use religion to motivate the people. And also by the time they are continuing expanding to the west, the Mexican got their independence, and they started to fight each other because unlike the US, the Mexicans gathered way too much land. They are not like in one government. just like the U.S. As the U.S. had more time, more resources, and more discussion to move the South. That's how they managed to pay a huge amount debt to take the land that was owned by France, and they were just doing good. And we see when they see Mexico, they just saw another good opportunity, and they display the current state of Mexico, how they were just fighting each other, and then they're not an independent nation like us, so we had to get rid of them, and it really worked. And it just got to show you a lot of mind games that were displaying during those times.
The United States decided that a simple family drama was too boring and went for a full breakup. Tensions over slavery
I really
were
love
already
this
sky high,
animation.
especially since the South had a business model that practically ran on free labor.
Yeah,
Just like modern sports brands and phone manufacturers. You know, that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, and see, it still happens to this day.
But the North had been eyeing the South for a while, and something had to change. Abraham Lincoln took office and voiced the radical idea that people maybe shouldn't live in slavery.
Okay, that one wasn't it. That wasn't it. Abraham Lincoln, even though he wanted slaves to have citizenship, he was a smart politician. He actually understand how people and how actions will affect for the major future. That one made him one of the best presidents ever because he understand society. And even though deep down he wanted it to for slaves to to be people, he didn't go for that. So he goes for, how about we not bring the slaves to these new lands? And the South didn't like that because they believe that they deserve to expand their lands, because cotton had been one of the most like successful item to sell upon not just themselves but also in Europe. And so they wanted more land. So the old saying, get greedy bitches, but it is one of the major reasons why the Civil War happened. And it's really a shame that, because like I said before, people only know the timeline and they only know about rights. They don't know the whole like other things really. It's like eating one slice of pizza and not getting the chance to eat all the slices. So
This was received in the South as if someone had just taken away their lollipop.
yeah.
South Carolina kicked off the succession and declared, you know what? Fuck y'all. We're out. Other southern states thought, get bent, y'all. Piss off, y'all. Y'all can shove it. Drop dead, y'all. Y'all kiss my big old southern ass. Y'all can take your shit and go.
Is this like common for the Southerners to say y'all like all the time? It's like something, say like bro or dude or come on, like, or like. I feel like that sounds like something that they always use, really, like zoinks. Like it's their catchphrase. You can't help it.
Go to hell, y'all. Y'all go biz up a row. Eat a bag of dicks, y'all, and screw you guys, y'all. And join
Again, I
the
really love his
Confederate States
animation.
of America,
It's
with
so
Jefferson
cool.
Davis as their president.
Ah, yeah.
Then came Fort Sumter in April 1861. The Confederacy decided to throw the first punch by firing on the Union fort in Charleston, officially starting the war. The North, the Union, and the South, the Confederacy, were now officially in conflict, and both sides built large armies to prove their point. The North had more people, more railroads, and more factories.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing about war. Usually, people think of war; they just think of this one idea: who has the best soldiers, who has the best weapons, who has the best tactics. But in reality, it depends on like, can you like balance these like tactics, these skills, these equipment, like everything. Can you balance them out and make sure that one doesn't go above the other or have less than? A good example would be during the invasion of France, and they managed to take over France, and it wasn't because of like overpowering by numbers or better equipment or use some secret weapon or anything like that. They just got outsmarted. That's the key thing. And that's the thing about war. You need to go over all of these things. Like go over like the land, go over the equipment, go over to your soldiers, your clothing, everything that needs to be accountable for war. Because if there's one thing that you do not have, then it's gonna be exploit, and it's gonna hurt you very, very fast and hard.
While the South relied more heavily on courage and some brilliant generals
Yeah.
like Robert E. Lee. Lee, who had originally wanted to fight for the Union but felt compelled to defend his home state of Virginia. He opposed slavery from a philosophical perspective. Whatever
I'm not sure if that's how it works. I don't think that's gonna wash your hands.
that is. Yet he supported its legality and held hundreds of slaves.
Dude.
Meanwhile, the northern economy was proving its industrial might. The South was mostly dependent on agriculture and struggled to acquire war supplies, increasing their logistical pressure and reliance on overseas trade with countries like Great Britain. The first major battle took place at Bull Run. The Union had an unpleasant surprise here. Their soldiers thought the Southern Army would be easy to defeat, but they were quickly beaten themselves. This battle was a wake-up call for the Union, who realized that the war would be much harder than they had thought.
Yeah, and that's what you need to be ready for anything. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, just because you have like all these like things that you can use and do, that doesn't mean that it will be successful. And as he, gave a example of it, it doesn't matter on what you have. All you need is something that the enemy that doesn't have, and you are good to go.
There followed many bloody battles, such as Shiloh and Antietam. The Battle of Antietam in 1862, the bloodiest single-day battle in American history, showed the determination of both sides to keep fighting, even if it meant
that's a fucking awesome background. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Oh shit.
Bloody battles, such as Shiloh and Antietam. The Battle of Antietam in 1862, the bloodiest single-day battle in American history, showed the determination.
Yeah, oh shit. Yeah, but yeah, dude, that is an awesome wallpaper. I should that could be like a video game actually. If I'm not gonna lie, that would be a cool video game to play.
Of both sides to keep fighting, even if it meant extreme sacrifices.
And his animation, dude.
Winning Antietam gave Lincoln the chance to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared all enslaved people in the southern states free. This made the war for the Union not just a fight for unity, but also a fight for moral justice. The first wokies, as you will. At the same time, it discouraged European countries like Great Britain from supporting the Confederacy, giving the Union a significant strategic advantage. Another important factor was control of the Mississippi River.
Oh yeah, what in the fuck?
The Union launched an...
Why did I pause on that shit?
No, I hear what you're thinking, but that wasn't it. It was a plan to surround and exhaust the South by cock-blocking. Cutting off their supply of weapons and...
Yeah, oh my god, I can't believe I just saw this shit. But yeah, so the Mississippi River was basically like the highway. And this is where, a lot of supplies and resources and men gets transported very quickly. So whoever controlled Mississippi controls the war. And as we can see, the Union did that.
By capturing control of the Mississippi, the Union split the South in two, making it harder for southern states west of the river to connect with the eastern forces. In 1863, General Grant led the siege of Vicksburg, giving the Union complete control of the Mississippi. This was a massive blow in the nutsack to the South, and left them both economically and strategically castrated.
Hey, have you ever have those moments? Okay, how can we make history not boring? Hire these people to talk to kids. I feel like that's gonna be very effective.
The Battle of Gettysburg in 1863 became one of the war's most crucial battles. General Lee tried to turn the tide of the war with an invasion of the North by attacking Pennsylvania, but his troops were eventually crushed like goobers. Gettysburg became a turning point. From that moment, the South was modestly on the defensive. Lincoln seized the victory to give his famous Gettysburg Address, calling for a new birth of freedom for a nation dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Yeah, well, it needed some much more improvement, I say, and I don't think it really made that much of an impact. I remember of a scene from Family Guy who Peter Griffin say, I think he said like this is so unimpressive, like the time slaves were free or something like that. But it really felt like that because people always I don't know display that this is like the significant moment for slavery, which it was, but it didn't have that much of a big of an impact, because if it did have that big of impact, then why are we seeing much more cons than pros during that era? So it really just show how people will just take this moment, and rather than like I suppose like pour in like the same feeling as before, they sort of like give it much more inspirement, if that makes sense, which is not bad. But I think people will needs to learn like the true feelings of how it was before than just hyping things up, because at that point you're just manipulating people.
In 1864, Ulysses S. Grant, nicknamed the Butcher, became the Union's commander and adopted a strategy
Oh, the
of
Butcher,
constant
yeah.
attacks to wear down the Confederacy. He launched the Overland Campaign, sending his armies to relentlessly engage Lee's forces. Grant's approach was simple and ruthless. The Union had more soldiers and resources, so if he just kept attacking the Confederacy, their reserves would eventually run dry.
And he was right. Like, despite of the Union suffer major blows and attacks from major cities, they always recover through resources and men. I mean, about 200,000 black African Americans, I want to say slaves, but at this point they're part of the union, they're part of the nation now. They signed up and they managed to restore their men so quickly, and it just goes to show you that the South, despite the tenacity and ruthlessness, they cannot like process of the over amount of man, weapons, resources that the Union have, and that was one of the reasons why they lost, because it's just so much.
This led to bloody battles, such as the Battle of Wilderness and Spotsylvania.
Yeah. And keep in mind, it's only been fought for 4 years.
Tecumseh Sherman led his famous March to the Sea in 1864. What began in Atlanta turned into a trail of destruction toward the Georgia coast. Sherman's army destroyed railroads, factories, and farmland to fuck over the southern economy.
And they did. He did.
Scorched earth tactics left the South poor as a church mouse and was a final blow to any hopes of the Confederacy making a comeback. By 1865, the South was completely exhausted. Soldiers deserted, supplies were depleted, and the dream of a separate southern nation quickly faded. After a long and weary chase, Lee's army was surrounded. He was forced to surrender his ass to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865.
Quite literally.
The surrender was modest and generous. Grant allowed Lee's soldiers to return home without punishment, probably because everyone was too exhausted to keep fighting.
Yeah, everyone was so tired. Remember, this only happens in only was 4-year war. I mean, compare that to other wars that we had in the U.S., that was like so like short yet very like effective. Like, this is what makes the Civil War so unique, because not only that everyone had like this motivation, they have this motivation to win their nation, but it just shows that It shows that how ideologies can just push like further for humans for human expectation. I think that's a good word. But it was such like an emotional like explosion. That's what I would say. And once they were done, they just can't do it anymore. They just can't do it. And plus, they can't even punish them because they're just fighting their own troops. So unless you want to make things worse, then go on ahead.
Unfortunately, the war ended with a tragedy.
Ah, yes. Bang.
Lincoln was assassinated by John I Broke a Foot Wilkes Booth, a Southern sympathizer, which shocked the nation.
Yeah, so people ask like how did he manage to get up there? Well, he was actually with his wife and they knew Lincoln way before the war started. So he just got that advantage very quickly. Also, Lincoln's wife went to a mental hospital after that because um right before, you know, the war, the Civil War, his son passed away and he was still the president and he was just an emotional wreck. And not to mention that, imagine your husband was like this national hero that did the impossible and they just die instantly. Like you won't be able to like to just accept it or process it. You're gonna go, mad, and that's what sadly happens to her, and it's devastating.
Lincoln's death made the process of Reconstruction even more difficult and showed that the fight for equality and unity was far from over.
Oh yes.
What important things did we learn from the American Civil War? Getting rid of slavery is a very pricey endeavor. Hundreds of cities were flattened and
Very
620,000 soldiers had to kick the bucket to adopt a more inclusive business model. Christians tried to stop the slavery thing several times before, but it was officially abolished with the 13th Amendment.
Deal
So,
with it.
good job there, chaps. It's something countries like Saudi Arabia, India, China, Pakistan, North Korea, Nigeria, Indonesia, and Bangladesh might learn something from, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
The Civil War brought the country one step closer towards a better future. Though the struggle for civil rights still had a long way to go.
Oh, yep.
We're marching for the Union, for freedom and the right to kick those Confederates clear out of sight.
Yeah.
They claim it's about space, but we know.
Yeah, all right. So that was very cool. I really love the animation. I really love like the nutshell explanation. The humor was, I don't know. It reminds me a bit of South Park humor almost. So it just really you know pretty funny. But it looks like I may be need to censor those things. I'm not sure. So I'll have to look into that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. If you like this video, please hit the like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment if you enjoy this. I will be thinking of reacting to another video like this. I'm not that sure, but I will leave the original video in the description down below with Mistsi Studios. Yeah, Mistsi Studios in the description as well. And take care. Hope you have a good week and love your family. Bye.